Sean Puffy Combs. You're going to hear commentary from a band member, ex-band member, and also an executive assistant to Mr. Combs, a male. And you can decide for yourself if you believe the versions from these said people and also the information in the indictment against Sean Combs. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeGanji129 Cash App. Here's the latest information from Good Morning America. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Former Danity Kane singer Dee Wood, she's sharing new allegations about Sean Diddy Combs. Eva Pilgrim spoke with her. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning again, George. He was one of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry, but now music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is behind bars on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. This morning, Dee Woods, one of the members of Danity Kane, sharing what it was like to work for him.
This morning, with music mogul Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial just months away.
That's what I'm talking about. Y'all did a great job today, ladies.
Some of those who worked closely with the hitmaker describing for the first time their experiences. Dee Woods shot to fame as 1/5 of the chart-topping girl group Danity Kane after starring on MTV's popular reality show, Making the Band 3.
The day we were chosen, I was like, it's bad boy for life, baby.
She says what should have been a dream come true quickly became something else, alleging Diddy created a verbally abusive work environment.
I'm curious why you decided to speak up now.
I would say that this moment now is a time where I feel like my experience, my truth will really be heard and actually considered and believed.
Dee Woods sharing her story as part of a new investigation discovery docuseries, The Fall of Diddy.
From the outside, he was this mogul. He was this guy who, could make your dreams come true.
Unsettling scenes like this, a reminder of what it was like on Making the Band.
Juanita, what's your stomach looking like? For real, are you feeling a little thick?
I always feel thick next to these skinny chicks.
You like a burger already?
He did it in different ways with all of us. Picking and prodding and just a way to chip and knock away, but then praise you. I see myself standing in those dark, scary, predatory spaces and hearing somebody say some of the most degrading things to me.
How was it predatory?
Somebody in some of the environments, it was even scary to be by yourself.
Despite turmoil on and off camera, Danity Kane debuted to massive success when Diddy fired Aubrey O'Day and Dee Woods.
Based on a lot of things that I've heard, you're not really a happy camper in this situation.
No, I don't think anyone has been happy for a long time in this situation.
Okay, so you can go too. Positive about that.
In the docuseries,
Wow.
Dee Woods claims she saw what she says were inappropriate communications from Diddy to Aubrey prior to their firing.
Was there anyone you could have talked to about it?
Absolutely not. Each other.
There was no one to tell.
Because what were they going to do?
Right.
So it's like, how do we survive this?
Diddy has denied all allegations against him in the documentary. His attorneys telling ABC News the producers failed to provide sufficient time or details for his representatives to address unsubstantiated claims, adding he has full confidence in the facts and the judicial process where the truth will prevail. The accusations against him are pure fiction.
Are you afraid in some ways that he'll get out, that there'll be some sort of retribution?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even doing this, it's like, maybe I shouldn't say, I should stop talking, shut up, but it's like, well, not talking hasn't changed anything either.
Dee
Very
Woods
true.
has never stopped pursuing her passions, returning to her theater roots and even performing on Broadway.
What would you say to Diddy if you had the chance to talk to him?
I honestly do not know, but I don't think you really have to say anything.
You don't?
As long as I'm holding my head up high and my shoulders back.
And Dee Woods is still actively performing, actively auditioning. She laughed about how busy it is right now because it's pilot season, and she's hopeful about what's to come. The Fall of Diddy premieres tonight on Investigation Discovery, and it's streaming on Max. We watched the whole thing, our whole team. Yeah. There was a lot you haven't seen before.
Okay. Well said. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Vault XL. There's nothing to say to Diddy. What could she say to him at this point? Nothing. What could any of the victims who have brought forward allegations, what could they say to him at this point? Nothing. Would he listen? No. Would he lie? Yes. Has he been lying? Yes. That's obvious. The information I'm going to bring you during this live stream is basically pertaining to Cassie Ventura. All the information you're going to hear in the indictment, the allegations, they're basically coming from Cassie Ventura, if you did not know that. Yes, you have new lawsuits, civil lawsuits by different men, women, but the main portion of the purpose basically for the original indictment, it's because of Cassie Ventura. All those allegations of the baby oil, the sex trafficking, the freak-offs, the tapings, the filming, celebrities, different things, that is all coming from Cassie Ventura, if you did not know. Now, you have other people who are giving similar commentary in their civil lawsuits, but the main ingredient is Cassie Ventura. But as far as talking to Puffy, there's nothing you could say to him. He wouldn't listen if you were sitting across the table from him. You get to see him in court. Judge will allow you to say something to him. You be talking to yourself. He doesn't care because he's not going to ever own that he's done anything. Naturally, he has denied all allegations against him, even the allegations from Cassie that's in the indictment. But where he's messed up is that the same person who paid this woman a hefty amount of money, don't know what the dollar amount is, you paid her 1 day after she brought forward the civil suit. 1 day later, you paid her. And then months later, into the next year, we get this tape, this infamous tape in 2024, okay? Which shows you are abusive. You do beat women. So that you lied about. You are abusive. You are violent. So if you can lie and say, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, but then a tape is revealed to the public of you beating the girl, then why would I believe you on any other allegation that you didn't do this and you didn't traffic a person, you didn't give drugs, you didn't coerce a person, you didn't film a person? Because my thing is this, if you lie about one thing, you'll lie about another. That's the thing about a liar. They lie. So you lied that you weren't abusive. Okay, we have a tape now that shows that you're abusive. There's also 9 videos available. We're going to hear all about that during this live stream. 9 videos. And some of you are going to question how the videos came about, because it's a bit dicey. You're going to probably be a little stunned when I bring you that information, but it is what it is. It's all messed up, in my opinion. And I'm starting to wonder, just after what I've listened to tonight, hell, if he'll even, he might just get let go. Let the defense tell him what they saw in the videos. I don't see any coercion. I don't see this. I don't see that. You're going to hear all of that. And you'll decide for yourself if Mr. Combs will walk free when he goes to trial. Okay? Just from what's been said from the defense. This is a tricky situation. Now, as for all these people bringing forward civil suits, it's not to say that what they're saying is not the truth, but you have to have proof. You have to have a receipt. Okay? You have to have a receipt. He'll never pay. I don't care if they take it to court and the judge says, okay, I believe what you're saying in your suit. He has to pay. I don't see him paying. So even if the information is the truth from all these different people bringing forward allegations, I don't see him ever paying. Now, the young man who's an inmate in Michigan who brought forward allegations against him in a civil suit as well, that suit has been dismissed. If you didn't know, I put a short up about that in the YouTube queue. Feel free to check it out on my channel. That suit has been thrown out by a Michigan judge. We're not going to hear from his assistant, and boy, is this juicy. Wow, wow, wow. Ooh, lordy, 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 child. This is, what I would say, this is a lot of chicken for the soup. This next this next bit of information. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. You entitled to believe the information or not? And I'm going to ask you all something before I start this commentary. Tell me what you think about this young man. Do you believe this young man is gay or bisexual? A reason, perhaps, Sean chose him to be his assistant. I just want you to watch and listen very carefully to this man's demeanor, and then you let me know what you think. Feel free to comment below this video. Thank you so much for your time.
Former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs speaking out in the new interview with new allegations about wild parties and drug use. Eva Pilgrim is here with the story. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Michael. At this point, we've all probably heard about these infamous parties. Diddy's assistant now giving us details about what he says were called Wild King Nights.
It's official. I survived what I've been through.
This morning, new details allegedly inside Diddy's world before his shocking arrest. The entertainment mogul now behind bars for federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges.
It was a circus. He did whatever he wanted, and we were just at his disposal.
Phil Pines was Diddy's senior executive assistant from 2019 to 2021. He says his then boss asked him to purchase supplies for parties dubbed Wild King Nights.
We usually had a laundry list of items that included lights, alcohol, marijuana, ketamine, Molly. Those requests started to become more frequent.
Pines claims many of these parties involved younger women.
A lot of times you would have him with a younger female. There's a power dynamic there. A more impressionable girl is easier to reel in. Consent is between the people that are engaging, and I wasn't there in these situations to understand the consent.
The new interview, part of Investigation Discovery's docuseries, The Fall of Diddy.
My job is to shield his private life from the public.
Pines even sharing audio he says is of Diddy telling Pines to bring him various substances during those Wild King Nights.
Phil, I need some Cialis. Can you give me 20 Xanax, please? Hey, Phil, I need a plan B.
I remember hearing the words, "Prove your loyalty to me, King." He grabbed me by the shoulders, pushed me to a girl that was on the couch.
The alleged parties similar to the infamous freak-offs detailed in the federal charges against the star, where women were allegedly forced to perform sexual acts with Combs and others, often under the influence of drugs.
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this a test?
Pines bringing a lawsuit to Combs back in December, accusing him of sexual battery and harassment. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His attorneys releasing a statement saying, no matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor.
And Diddy's lawyers also saying they are confident that the judicial process will find the truth and that he will prevail in court. And y'all, this is only the latest in a series of people who were in Diddy's inner circle going public. Robin.
Such a series of people. You're right about that.
Let's go back and have a look at this guy, okay?
For federal
There
sex
is-
trafficking,
One
And we were just
second.
at his disposal.
Phil Pines was Diddy's senior executive assistant from 2019 to 2021. He says his then boss asked him to purchase supplies for parties dubbed Wild King Nights.
We usually had a laundry list of items that included
Phil, let me talk to you for a minute, bro. You worked for this man for 2 years, allegedly. And people are going to judge you just like they along for the ride. We're not talking about children. We're not talking about minors. They don't count. They don't count because they're children. Like they say, you can't consent to sex and you're a child. It doesn't matter if you're 15, you're 16, it's wrong. An adult has no business touching a child, luring a child, sending pictures, filming of a child, sex acts. But you all are adults, so this is where many people don't have the problem. You worked for him for 2 years. In this superseding indictment, we're going to hear information from you that he was trying to force you into sex, touching, groping, whatever he did. This makes no sense to me. You're a grown-ass man. I say the same about you like I said about the other little Rod or the other little guy who was the music producer. You all are grown men Why are you letting a man touch you, first of all, inappropriately? Why are you letting a man grope you? Why are you letting a man talk sex talk to you? Why are you in a room where other people are naked, half, dressed, pushing you towards somebody? You don't know how to talk. You don't know how to fight back. You all feel what? Well, this is Sean Combs. I'm just going to ride so I can get paid. This, to me, is just a repeat of R. Kelly all over again. Some of this stuff is BS because you all are grown, especially the men. You are not going to sit here and tell me you're going to let somebody touch you and grope you and you are a man. So what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Pines, are you a homosexual? Yes, Queen's going to ask that. Checkmate. Are you a homosexual? Are you bisexual? Because you got to remember something about a predator. They are meticulous in the people that they choose to exact their crimes against. So I believe he baited you like he's baited a lot of people. He's a watcher. Sean Combs is a watcher. He's what I would call, a walking, talking, peeping Tom. He's watching everything you do. From the moment you walk into a room, you sit in his presence. He's watching you. He watch how you sit, how you talk, your mannerisms. He's looking to see, can I get this person to do what I want them to do? And you did. So as someone has said under the video, under this Good Morning America video, you should be brought along up for charges as well, because we believe you have access to a lot of his hanky-pankiness. The fact that he asked you to procure drugs for him, that's a whole nother subject. So you're stupid enough to go procure drugs for somebody without thinking that you wouldn't be talking to an undercover? Come on, dude, really? So I'm going to ask you, sir, did you partake in using any type of narcotics? Molly's, ecstasy, Cialis, which we learned in this commentary. He asked you to get him Xanaxes, Cialis, and Plan B. So we already know what Xanaxes do. It's a relaxant type drug. Cialis is for male performance, to enhance male performance. And then we have the Plan B. That is a drug for a woman to not get pregnant, and she takes it the morning after. So let's get the definition of Cialis. Cialis relaxes muscles of the blood vessels and increases blood flow to particular areas of the body. Cialis is used to treat erectile dysfunction, prostatic hypertrophy, enlarged prostate. Another brand of tadalafil, it's called Adcirca, which is used to treat pulmonary arterial. God, this is crazy. I wasn't expecting all of that. Some type of, I guess, malfunction. So I want you all to think about that. Cialis is to help somebody get their private part upright. Keep it upright for so long, okay? It lasts only so many hours of the drug. So, Sean, I'm going to ask you, do you have a male dysfunction? You have a malfunction with your penis? You're a young, virile man. You're just 50-something years of age, 1 year older than the Queen. Or, later in the year, you'll be, 2 years older than the Queen. So I'm trying to understand, you have a problem with your penis. You have a problem with your penis that you need Cialis. You need Xanaxes. You need liquor. You need Molly's. You need ecstasy. You need all these drugs, which could cause a person to just damn near foam at the mouth, pass out. Stay woke, everybody. And you, little birdie, you're stupid to be procuring these drugs for somebody. What are you getting out of this? So now I got to ask you, what did Sean Combs pay you for a salary worth you procuring drugs for him and his parties? I also need to know, do you use drugs currently? And did you use any of these drugs while being in the company of Mr. Combs and on your own personal time? Did you ever have sexual relations with Mr. Combs? If so, how many times? Yeah, people are going to want to know. Did you have a sexual relationship with Mr. Combs? Because I do believe he's bisexual. More than likely, he's a homosexual who's been hiding under having sex with women. Checkmate. We've learned that, have we not? I'll walk around with a pretty girl on my arm, pretty lady, just so people can think I am straight, I'm a heterosexual. But deep down inside, I desire men, I like men. And we have learned from all these allegations that Sean is a very hyper-sexed individual. He likes sex, and he likes all kind of sex. And we've heard of anal sex, vaginal sex, non-consensual sex. He's just a dirty bird. And you, sir, I believe you know more than what you probably told the prosecutors. Because in the end, what do I always say on this network? Everything's about perception. So I don't really know what you have been doing and not doing with Sean Puffy Combs, because you ain't going to tell all of that. Are you really going to tell somebody, yeah, I willingly had sex with a man, my boss? Hell no. Why would you want to do that? But it's okay now to bring a civil suit and say, yeah, he forced me to be with men and women, and we've heard all of that with Miss Cassie Ventura and other people. Sean likes forcing people into sexual interludes with other people, prostitutes, so on and so forth. You also want to hear allegations that girlfriends have been deemed prostitutes. You're entitled to your opinion. But I believe you have done a whole lot more. And you were a fool to get drugs for him, because had you bought drugs from somebody who was an informant or working undercover as a agent or police officer, detective, your ass would have went to jail. And then you would have went down for all them Xanaxes, Molly's, cocaine, fentanyl, whatever the hell he asked you to get. You're not bright. Now, you want to get drugs for yourself, you want to buy, sell drugs, get high, that's you. That's on your own time. But getting drugs for somebody else, hell no. Because it's an exchange from that person to your hands. So why would you even risk that? That's what, help me understand. Oh, that's my boss, that's right. Oh, I fear him. So now you feel comfortable coming out talking. So we have this other young lady who was in one of the groups, Danity Kane, Miss Woods. She's decided to give her opinion, and I can see why she decided to speak, because he's locked up. Why not tell my truth? And I understand why she didn't want to talk. Who would believe me? That's basically what she was alluding to. I didn't want to tell anybody, because who's going to believe me? He's a mogul. He's rich. He's wealthy. Everybody knows him. A lot of people like him. Who's going to think he would rape somebody? We hear this all the time about men. Famous people, they ain't got to rape nobody. They can get any woman they want. Well, you see, if you're a dirty bird and you're a sadist, that's not... They're navigating on a different mindset, you see. They know there are women who are willing to give up the cookie for free. That's not what they're into. A rapist don't think like that. A rapist is on some other type of SHIT, okay? Come on. I want to take the cookie because I can. As most professionals would say, oh, it's a power trip. They rape to gain power. It's a power trip. Well, I also think it's sexual in nature as well. You can get power over people without having sex if your game is tight. Come on, Queen, bring it home. You see, it's called manipulation. Many people are manipulated every day, and sex is not involved. So that's why I say it's not always about, when people say it's a power trip, well, sex is involved too, because you are choosing to manipulate people by sex, by coercion, forcible rape, okay? Pinning a person down. Then you're filming them. So now you're violating their rights by filming them. We learned that with him. He likes to film people. Sean's just nasty. He likes to sit in the chair, masturbate, touch himself while you have sex with somebody else. He's just all over the place. But where is he now? He's locked up. Will he stay locked up? I don't know. But when I bring you the next information, you can decide for yourself if you believe Sean will be able to weasel his way out of these allegations by Miss Cassie Ventura. And if the judge will allow other people to speak in court of their situations that they had with him. You're entitled to your opinion. But do you believe the allegations from this man? Do you believe he procured drugs for Sean Puffy Combs? I would say I do believe that, because he used that white boy last year to bring drugs on that airplane when he got arrested down in Miami. So I do believe Sean would ask people to get drugs for him. Naturally, Sean knows to connect, or he used these people to get a connect. However it worked, Sean had knowledge of everything. But my thing is, when you're talking about being a man and you're saying somebody touched me, groped me, they forced me into sex with other people and them, it just seems barbaric. The act is barbaric. And then I'm looking at you like, well, don't you have some balls about yourself? Please don't tell me you're this naive and gullible that you allow somebody to run you around like a damn gopher, picking up coffee, tea, picking up their outfits, hell, cooking up eggs and bacon, letting them sexually grope you, rape you, procuring drugs for them. I mean, we're talking about running the gamut here. I mean, where does it end? all for the almighty dollar. But see, we live in a world that's like that. People will do anything for that money. And you're entitled to do whatever you want. You want to have sex for money, that's your business. You want to run around and, jump through hula hoops for somebody for the almighty dollar, that's your business. But when you're talking about rape and drugs, that's a whole nother ballgame. Watching people get raped, watching people get drugged. Why? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? See, that's why I said I do believe that you know more, and you're not going to tell it all, because you then would have to implicate yourself. You're already implicating yourself in trafficking drugs for him, because that's exactly what you were doing. So then we have to say, then what else have you not admitted to the prosecutors? Do I want to believe that you let a man grope you, touch you, force himself on you, force you into sex with him and other parties? Why would you do that? You're a man, you're not a woman. And if you've watched his behavior with women and talking down to them and belittling them, one's going to say, why'd you keep working for him? You worked for him for 2 years. So that's a long time to be in the company of a sadist. And then you knew his demeanor, his disposition, how he talked, how he carried himself, and you continue to deal with him. Why? So I'm going to ask again, what was your salary, sir? What dollar amount was worth you putting up with Sean Puffy Combs' deviant ways? Help us understand. Because we're now seeing a whole lot of people put up with him. A producer stayed in his house and said he groped him too and coerced him into sex and woke up in the bed with different parties and all this old type of nonsense. And now you're saying the same damn thing. We got Cassie saying the same damn thing. We got all these other people jumping out of hula hoops saying the same damn thing. But the people who really have the most credibility are the people who were children who are now adults. I don't see people lying about being a child or being touched by Sean Puffy Combs. We also believe that there's a celebrity in one of the tapes. I believe it's true. And for the lawyers to say, well, he ain't done nothing, he ain't raped nobody. Well, who's going to believe that? When the news people just sat there and told you, because this is why you're suing News Nation and their parent company. You're suing them because they've seen the tape. On the live, she saw the tape. And they can tell that that's a kid in that tape. It looks like a young person. And they have made out that it is a celebrity. So then how is it a lie? A child can't consent to sex, Mr. or Mrs. Attorney. A child can't consent to sex. So you can't say, oh, he ain't never raped nobody, he ain't never trafficked nobody. It is trafficking. Once you took the child from one place to the next place, that's trafficking. You took them for the guys to have sex, that is trafficking. Man, woman, it's the same thing. You picked up a person in North Carolina. You flew them to New York to have sex, to have gang rape. That's trafficking. Maybe you need to go back to school and, reassess what you learned in school, because obviously you don't know what you're talking about. That's why it's called trafficking. You're moving the person around from place to place for sexual purposes. And a child doesn't know any better. Hey, I'm going to pick up your kid. I'm going to take your kid over here, and I'm going to take your kid over here. And you're taking the kid around and around to lure the child, to seduce the child, to touch and grope the child, penetrate the child. Come on now. That's sex trafficking. That's rape. Bottom line. It's also considered the same for adults. Now, some will say, well, I believe some of these people willingly went, the grown-ups, they went to have sex with Sean. I'm sure many of them did. But the problem is, did I tell you to put something in my drink? That's totally different. Did I tell you to film me? No, I did not. Did I tell you to roofie me? No, I did not. So I may agree, hey, I'm going to run on this trip with you and have sex with you, but I didn't tell you I wanted you to put a drug in my drink. So then that means I can't consent to anything if I'm incapacitated. Checkmate. Let's hear what Law and Crime has to say, everybody, about the superseding indictment. Oh, Lord have mercy. What a hot butter mess. This is a hot butter mess, everybody. We're going to hear what they have to say pertaining to these allegations. Now, with this superseding indictment, there are no new charges against Sean, but there's some strong allegations. And I will play that information for you so you can hear it. It's not good. 1 second, everybody.
By the way, he's scheduled to go to trial in May. Now, the defense wanted copies of these videos handed over to them, not just the ability to view them at like the prosecution's office. They wanted copies of these videos for themselves. And I've talked to lawyers about this before. There's a big advantage to having the electronic video, the electronic evidence yourself, right? You don't have to always go over to the other office. You can view the materials on your own. It's a way to better prepare for your defense. And Sean Combs' lawyers argued that under the federal rules of criminal procedure, if the defendant asks for it, the government has to give a defendant the opportunity to inspect and to copy electronic data that is in the government's possession. And that data, that evidence, has to be material to preparing their defense. And here, Combs' attorneys argued material. The videos of these alleged freak-offs are at the center of the allegations put forward by the government. And they say, look, the government hasn't presented a real, legitimate, solid reason for why they shouldn't be turned over to the defense. It's not like we're dealing with child pornography or classified information where you have to have certain protocols put in place by how that material should be shared or disseminated. And they say, more importantly, these tapes prove our client is innocent. So Combs' lawyers wrote in a previous letter, having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Mr. Combs' innocence and that their full exculpatory value cannot be investigated and used unless they are electronically produced. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called freak-off tapes with victim 1 that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called freak-offs were private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Like many Americans, in the privacy of their own bedroom, their sexual activity. These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim 1 not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself. And by the way, victim 1 is with respect to that sex trafficking charge. And we believe victim 1 to be Cassandra Ventura. This is Diddy's ex-girl.
We're going to stop right there. Cassie Ventura is the catalyst to what you're hearing. All this new information, all these extra parties jumping on. Cassie Ventura is the reason for the season, okay? The reason for the season. Just trying to pull up something. Hold on one second, everybody. Check out the new documentary on investigation discovery pertaining to Sean Puffy Combs. The commentary you're listening to is the 7 disturbing details in P. Diddy's new superseding indictment. Cassie Ventura is why we're here, okay? That's what they're talking about pertaining to Sean Puffy Combs. Hold on one second. I always like to show a little visual. Hello, everybody. This young lady is the reason for the season. Basically, what the defense is saying, they had a long-term relationship. They had sex, used drugs. He filmed her, blah, blah, blah. She enjoyed it. She seemed happy. That's what you're getting ready to hear. She appeared happy in the videos. Okay, we're talking about what? About 9 videos? 9 videos, and she seemed happy. But was she happy? I don't know. I haven't seen the videos. She's claiming sexual assault, coercion, threats, violence, coercion with other parties, male prostitutes. All this is coming from Cassie Ventura, okay? If you did not know, the indictment is basically because of this young lady here. All the information in the indictment is pertaining to Cassie Ventura. She's the reason for the season. And the defense is saying, Sean's never raped anybody, woman, man, or child. This young lady enjoyed it. She liked it. She seems happy in the video. This is a crazy, crazy case. Let's finish this.
girlfriend who first filed that initial sexual assault lawsuit against him back in 2023, the person who was featured in that infamous footage from 2016 where Combs is purportedly beating her and dragging her in a hotel hallway while he's just wearing a towel. Remember what the prosecution claims. They claim that she was trying to escape a freak-off, that there was a male commercial sex worker in that hotel room, and that's what she was running away from. Now, their letter to the court said that victim one was, in these videos, quote, was happy, dominant, and completely in control, and that there's no evidence of coercion or threats or manipulation, again, i.e. sex trafficking. The defense said there's no evidence that anyone is incapacitated or under the influence of drugs or excessive alcohol consumption, meaning maybe there was some alcohol consumption. There's certainly no evidence of sex trafficking. Moreover, contrary to innumerable sensationalistic media reports, the videos do not depict sex parties. There are no secret cameras, no orgies, no other celebrities involved, no underground tunnels, no minors, and not so much as a hint of coercion or violence. Far from the government's lurid descriptions, the videos show adults having consensual sex, plain and simple. At bottom, this case is about whether victim one was or was not a willing participant in her private sex life with Mr. Combs. The videos confirm that she plainly was. So,
I'm going to stop right there. So, with these tapes that the judge has access to, the defense, I guess, have seen some parts of it. They want copies. That's what this superseding indictment, this new superseding indictment is about. As I said before, there are no new charges against Sean Puffy Combs. But the defense is saying, hey, she was happy in the videos. There's no other parties. There's no other, people. There's no this, that, and the other. It's just these two having sex, allegedly. I don't know. I haven't seen the tape, so I can't say. Well, what makes you think she was happy? Because what? She's smiling. She's talking sex talk. You're trying to say there's no that. Was she under the influence of drugs during these escapades with Sean Puffy Combs? Was she under the influence of drugs? Okay. Did she feel coerced? Because you always got to ask yourself that about looking at filmed video. Do you start the video exactly when the people walk in without their clothes on? My understanding that the audio's grainy, the room is dark. So I'm going to say this to the attorneys for Sean. How can you say what she was feeling if there's bad audio? The tapes are grainy and dark. Make it make sense. That don't make no sense. So how many tapes were grainy, no audio, and dark? Some people like having sex in the light. Some don't. So I'm going to ask that question. Of all the videos that the prosecution have in their custody, how many of the videos are grainy, dark, and have no audio? Because if all the videos are dark and grainy, then defense attorneys, you can't say what she was doing, how she was feeling. She was happy. She was dominant. Help me understand. How would you know that if it's dark? I don't understand that.
Consent appears to be the main defense to the federal criminal charges. And that would make sense, right? Because the idea would be, did they engage in sex? Yes. Did he transport her across state lines? Yes. But as long as there was no threats or fraud or coercion or illegal sex acts or commercial sex acts, it's fine. It's legal. It's not sex trafficking. And so their whole defense here is this was all consensual, and these tapes prove it. We need these tapes. And also, I will say, in that portion, what I just read to you, they're trying to separate what Sean Combs is actually being accused of in this federal criminal case versus the claims that he's facing in multiple civil lawsuits. So just because in a number of lawsuits that he has been accused of, sexually abusing and raping men and children, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is what this criminal case is going to be about.
Okay, so that's a very good point. The civil suits are separate than what the indictment states. So we're talking about separate cases. Civil suits are not criminal suits, okay? So all these other suits from different people, they're just what they are, civil suits brought against Sean. Now, the indictment is really basically about this young lady here, Miss Ventura. So where this is going to be a problem, if these tapes naturally are introduced into court, they are played in court, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem because, if, as I said, if some of the tapes are grainy and dark and there's no audio, then how is it going to be proven that it's coercion? The person's drugged, because if you can't see anything, how can you tell? And what's bizarre about this information is who had access to the tapes. I'll let you guess. Cassie, how'd you get the tapes? Because we're going to hear you had the tapes on your device. How did you get the tapes? Sean's filming you two having sex. What did Sean and how did he film you two having sex? A camera on a tripod? If so, once again, how did you get the tapes? Did he willingly give you the tapes, Cassie Ventura? Or did you get a copy of the tapes when he wasn't looking? And then the ultimate question, the tape of you at the hotel running out of the room, did you have a copy of that tape? And if you did have it originally, how did you get it? And why didn't you reveal it years ago? Who had the tape of him beating her up at the hotel? Because I find it very interesting. She sues him. One day later, he settles. And then months later, the spring of 2024, poof, voila, CNN gets this infamous tape at the hotel. So who had the tape? Did the person who had the tape, who was paid at the hotel, the staff member, did you ever go back many times and ask Sean for money? How many times has he paid you? And once again, who released the tape of her at the hotel being beat up by this man? And how does she have these sex tapes of herself and him on her own damn phone? Checkmate. Stay woke, everybody.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about celebrities involved in these episodes. And like he said, secret cameras and tunnels. They argue that a lot of this is speculation. The speculation about, oh, what's on the Diddy tapes? They say, no. All of it's not true.
Does anyone have...
Sorry about that. Brief intermission. This is a problem. No tunnels, no secret cameras in the house. I don't know if I believe that. I do believe he had cameras in his house. He's a billionaire. He's going to have cameras outside of his home, inside of his home. He's a freak. He likes taping people. So he's the type that would put a tape in the bathroom, tape in the living room, tape, cameras in the kitchen. Come on now. Well, let's keep this real.
And what these tapes are not. And they also highlighted something else. The defense also said these videos, another reason why I think we deserve them, taken from victim one's device, not Sean Combs. So the idea that he kept these videos as collateral or blackmail as a form of power and control over victim one doesn't hold water. And basically they asked the court to amend the protective order that has been put in place in this case to allow the prosecutors to turn these tapes over to the defense. This was an order from the court that dictated how information was and shared and disseminated by the defense and prosecution. And
I'm going to interrupt right there. So basically the videos of them having sex was on Miss Ventura's phone. So Miss Ventura, I'm going to ask you, how did you get the tapes? Because right now, hearing this information, it don't look good. So as I said, everything's about interpretation. Did she realize, okay, I need collateral to show this man's been taping me so I can sue him down the road? He's taped me without my permission. So then you got to ask yourself, at what point did she realize she was being taped while having sex with Sean? Because it's like an on and off relationship, which lasted about 7 years, 8 years or so. So I'm asking all these questions. Number one, how did you get the video on your own phone? Because you had to get it from somewhere. Unless you propped up your own phone and taped yourself. Hell, maybe I'm slow. I don't know. Ma'am, where did you get the footage from? Did you steal the footage from Sean Puffy Combs? Transferred it from one device to another? Did you willingly know that you were being filmed by Sean Puffy Combs? Did he ever ask you, do you mind being filmed? Did he tell you you were being filmed? Did he film you and then later told you, hey, I filmed us having sex? How did it go? Because if you found out one time, or he introduced the tape or introduced the camera to you the first time you had sex, you see a camera on a tripod, you ask him, hey, what's that? He tells you, oh, I want to film it. You have the right to say, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be filmed. So did you ever confront him? Hey, I don't want to be filmed? Because this is going to look bad in court depending on the information on the device. How you retrieve the videos. Did you retrieve it by stealing it from him to keep for your own personal database to show, hey, this man's been filming me. I found these tapes, so I filmed them myself. So you transferred one to the other to your own device. I'm curious. Because I don't want to point fingers and say she had knowledge of being filmed, because I don't know. I need to know how she got the videos on her own phone. That's where this is grainy. So it's up to the state to prove the transference of the videos. If they were filmed like some R. Kelly shit, being filmed by iPad, you know, that's some stuff R. Kelly did. Setting up a camera, I'd be damned, with an iPad, I'd heard it all. So did she ever set up her own phone to film herself and Sean have sex? Number one. How did she get these tapes? Number two. Did she ever film herself and him with her own devices? Number three. Did he ever tell her he filmed her? How did this come about? That's what I'm questioning. And definitely, who released that tape from the hotel? And will that person go to court and say, yes, I had a tape from the hotel. He came to me, paid me. I took a payment. I took more than one payment. Are we ever going to hear from that person and how many times that person was paid, the actual dollar amount that they were paid? Because this is all, the timing is very interesting. From her civil suit, him paying her one day later, and then poof, months later, we get this infamous hotel tape, which leads me to think that perhaps Cassie Ventura had the tape. So then you got to ask, well, how did she get the tape? Is all this taping stolen footage she got from Sean Puffy Combs?
As the defense called out in their letter to the judge, the protective order made this video evidence, again, allegedly of the freak-offs, quote, available for inspection only and not electronically produced. They said, court, you need to amend this. We deserve the tapes. And they also argued, by the way, that we need these videos, we need copies of these, because they said that the audio on the tapes, you can barely hear it, and the lighting is very bad, that the images are dark and grainy. So we need our own experts, our own defense experts, to enhance the quality and analyze the metadata. So now, back to Judge Arun Subramanian's order that came down yesterday. What did he decide? Well, Judge Subramanian denied the defense's motion to amend the protective order, but without prejudice, meaning this issue could be revisited. So Subramanian's order reads, quote, while the government objects to handing the videos over, they provide several options for a defendant to consider that would permit the defense to view the videos, access the information they're looking for, and even allow them to manipulate the videos as they see fit. To the extent these options are insufficient, the defense may propose other options to the government. It doesn't appear that the defense did this before raising the issue with the court. The parties should have these discussions, and if they really reach an impasse, the defense can come back to the court, and if that happens, they should be prepared to clearly articulate why they need possession of the videos despite the options furnished by the government. So, Combs and his team, they don't get the tapes, and Judge Subramanian seems to be, calling out the defense of it. Like, you really could have worked this out with the prosecution before, right? Did you really need the court to step in? Did you even ask the prosecutors how you might be able to regularly view and analyze the tapes as you see fit to prepare for your defense? So, look, this issue may...
So did his attorneys ask the prosecution for those videos to see them? The judge is basically saying you all had an opportunity to try to work something out with the state as far as viewing the tapes. But the judge basically says to the attorneys for Sean, you're not getting any copies. of the tape. And you're also going to hear more arguments pertaining to what the defense put out pertaining to information in the indictment that they weren't supposed to reveal pertaining to the victims. And basically they're saying is, well, the information was already out there, but judicially they weren't supposed to mention certain aspects of this case publicly. It's a lot of legal wrangling pertaining to this debacle between Sean and Cassie Ventura. But as I said, everything's about interpretation. I do believe Sean is a dirty bird. That I do believe. But everything judicially is about what you can prove. And if we're talking about a bunch of videos of people in the dark, you don't even have audio, which that's interesting. No audio. So was the audio not filmed at the time, or somebody's redacted the audio from the videos? See, a lot of questions you don't have answers to. So will we get someone in court to say somebody took the audio off? And why would you do that? Wouldn't that be a part of the sensation of watching yourself have sex with someone? You want to hear the conversation? Very bizarre.
Be revisited if they really can't figure out a way to make all of this work. And look, it's not surprising that the judge just won't allow the defense copies of these tapes and amend the protective order. I mean, essentially, we're talking about sex tapes, right? Key pieces of evidence in this case is very private, very sensitive. Got to be careful about how this is handled. And let's not forget, Sean Combs is in hot water right now. He was denied bail again, partly because he was accused of violating the Bureau of Prisons rules by improperly using other inmates' phone access numbers, improperly contacting people, and allegedly trying to reach out to victims and witnesses while he's locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Can he and his team be trusted with copies of these videos? Now, to be clear, the judge didn't say that in his order, but you have to wonder if that is ultimately a point of consideration in not handing these tapes over to Sean Combs and his team. And with that in mind, this is not the only issue that came up. There was another ruling from the judge we got to talk about. There was another thing the judge decided just now, and we want to talk about it. And it concerns the same issue. It concerns the tapes. You see, the prosecution weeks ago responded to the defense's letter, but they didn't focus so much on turning over the alleged sex tapes. They didn't want to turn them over, but rather what they focused on, what they accused the defense of, is they alleged the defense violated the protective order. They argued that the defense revealed just way too much about the content of these videos, even though the defense redacted certain portions of the videos in their letter to the court that we all saw. It was a public letter. But they say that's not enough. The prosecution argued that under the protective order, no portion of the videos should have been filed on that public docket without being filed under seal, basically meaning the public won't have an opportunity to see it. Or they shouldn't have filed it without the defense first talking with the government as to the proper designation. They say the defense did neither. So instead of talking with the government about this or redacting all of the content related to the videos, the defense, they argued, left unredacted descriptions and characterizations of material in these videos that was designated Attorney Eyes Only, AEO. They argued that by doing this and kind of telling the world what these videos, in their opinion, show, this threatens the privacy of the victims in this case. And they asked the court to remove it from the public filing, have it be refiled with full redactions. The defense objected to that. So they responded in a follow-up letter to the judge. They said, okay, tell you what, we'll agree to make redactions, but judge, and we need you to allow us to refile this letter, but with narrower redactions. They argued that what the government is asking for is way too overbroad, that we shouldn't have to redact everything. That, look, judge, the government started this. The government has been quite specific about details of freak-offs and what they're alleging the evidence will show. We have a right to respond. We have a right to provide our own description, our own characterization of what these videos are. And the defense also argued that there is a presumption of the public having access to all the details about these videos. Again, videos of freak-offs are the government's key piece of evidence. The public has a right to know, and Combs' rights are being compromised by not having the proper access to this video evidence. So in their letter, the defense writes, indeed, the public can only have confidence in the conscientiousness, reasonableness, or honesty of judicial proceedings if the documents on which judges rely are publicly available. And they say the government provides no adequate rationale for sealing this information. In fact, let me read you this part in its entirety, because I think this is a key to what the defense's argument was, and then I'll tell you what Judge Arun Subramanian decided. But the defense wrote, while victim one may have privacy interests that justify keeping the videos themselves under seal at this stage, including details of the content of the videos, the fact that victim one was filmed while participating in the so-called freak-offs is public information. Indeed, the government has publicized that these were extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers and elaborate and produced sex performances that were electronically recorded. The government has publicized gratuitous details, including the use of baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, lighting, room damage, delivery of IV fluids. The government even held a press conference publicizing the seizure of more than 1,000 bottles of personal lubricant and baby oil. And the government has publicly asserted that during the freak-offs,
All right, brief intermission. So they're arguing back and forth about public information released to the public in the documents. That's what the defense and the state have been arguing back and forth in court. But, oh, Lord, it's a hot mess.
Verbal abuse, including being hit, kicked, and dragged, and that alleged victim claims are corroborated by videos of the freak-offs. Faulting the defense for characterizing that same evidence as exculpatory and consensual is an unfair double standard and demonstrates the government's intent to mislead the public and the court. To accept the government's broad reading of the protective order would turn it into a tool to shield the public from any interpretation of the evidence that could be favorable to Mr. Combs. After the government has been able to tout its own inculpatory interpretation, the result will be an unfairly polluted jury pool manufactured by the government's misleading narrative and widely disseminated by the press. Okay. Now to the judge's order from yesterday. And here is what Judge Subramanian wrote. Quote, the protective order is clear that the defense shall not share any AEO material, attorney's eyes only material, or the content of the AEO material with any other persons. The defense's original letter, which the court ordered stricken from the public docket, did not redact numerous descriptions of the content of the videos at issue, which have been designated AEO pursuant to the protective order. These descriptions are also appropriately sealed under the case. But the judge says this, but to the extent certain of the government's proposed redactions don't relate to the content of AEO material, the defense's original letter can be refiled with those specific sentences unredacted. In other words, defense, you didn't redact what you should have, okay? Namely, the descriptions of the videos or your characterizations of the videos. That was attorney's eyes only, not for the public to see. We actually removed that letter from the docket, but I will tell you it's already been, heavily reported in the media, so how much good is that? But Judge Subramanian seems to leave a little bit of an opening here that if the government proposes over redactions, if the redactions just too far, and they're covering things that really don't need to be attorney's eyes only, then those things don't have to be redacted. By the way, before we finish things up, I just want to quickly lay out something else. So there was a big bombshell that came out recently about freak-offs. I'll get to that in a second. But just so we all are clear about what I mean when I'm talking about freak-offs and the alleged tapes of the freak-offs, just so we understand their importance to this criminal case, I want to read you just one more time the descriptions of what freak-offs are as laid out by the prosecutors in Combs' criminal indictment. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, pleasured himself during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. By the way, a little side note. I keep getting this question. Isn't it interesting that he's going to trial for racketeering and yet he's the only criminal defendant? It is interesting, right? You can't engage in a racketeering enterprise like this or an alleged
without other
enterprise
defendants
like this by himself. So you imagine that there will probably be alleged co-conspirators who are testifying against him. I don't see. I mean, is it possible that other people?
Let me ask that question then. Will there be other co-conspirators? And now that we've gone so far into the game of the indictment being, originally coming out last year, why are there no other co-defendants? So the host has a very good point. Racketeering involves others, not just one. So will there be others arrested as co-conspirators? Now, the young man I showed you earlier, the assistant, Mr. Pines, some people under that video feel like, hey, you are part of it too. You had knowledge of the drugs, you had knowledge of, groping and inappropriate business with him and other people. But I think he tried to make it seem like in that video, well, I didn't have any knowledge, of any type of coercion or what the people were doing. I don't know if I believe that. That's why I think, I don't think he's telling the whole truth about everything.
Might actually be indicted alongside him, maybe, but I mean, at this stage, seems unlikely. I don't know, just an interesting point. It's the same thing that we talked about with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Anyway, let's not forget that prosecutors allege that these freak-offs, though, they weren't just happening years ago, right? In one of the letters to the court, they wrote, indeed, since at least in or about January 2024, when the defendant was unquestionably aware of the criminal investigation, the evidence shows that he is engaged in multiple freak-offs, some including the interstate transportation of individuals to participate. So that's going to be the heart of the case. Now, we actually heard about freak-offs quite recently. So Rolling Stone just published a piece, and it's entitled, "As Sean Combs' Love Era Began, New Accusers Say He Was Still a Demon." And one of the people interviewed as part of this piece was an alleged male sex worker identified as Nathan. Now, Nathan, in this report, claims that Combs actually contacted him to participate in a freak-off in 2019. He claims this was out in Miami at the One Hotel, essentially a threesome, 2 men and a woman. Apparently, though, that didn't happen, that specific freak-off event or alleged freak-off event, but Nathan says he was paid between $2,000 and $5,000 for these types of sexual episodes, and that freak-offs were, quote, ritualistic, and that Combs would be there. He would choreograph the whole thing. He would watch. Quote, he would pretend to leave the room, but go around the corner and crawl in the room on the floor and peek around the corner and use the mirrors. This is what Nathan claimed. Oh my God. Really creepy obviously, because it's like your girlfriend. Why do you even have to do that? He claimed that these episodes would occur at places like hotel rooms in Miami, New York, Los Angeles, that there would be warm baby oil, that he was even allegedly drugged during a freak-off. I mean, what he's alleging here is entirely consistent with what prosecutors are alleging. Now, we don't know if Nathan is going to be a witness at the federal criminal trial scheduled for May, but I imagine that is probably consistent with testimony we will hear, potentially from other alleged sex workers. And if there are paper trails, money, travel invoices, hotel invoices, that is all going to help the prosecution prove their case, particularly the prostitution and sex trafficking charges. Now, the defense has seemed to suggest in prior filings that there are witnesses who will rebut this, and they will say that everything was consensual, that everything was on the up and up during these, and I don't think they're running away from the term freak-offs. So again, goes back to the idea of consent. We shall see how this unfolds, but again, big decisions by Judge Arun Subramanian in this criminal case. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody think?
All right, we're going to end that there. That's Law and Crime Network. The reason why I'm not playing this is because, with the airing of this video so many times, they've got copyright issues of you playing the video over and over. But I showed this because this shows the proof that he is a violent person. And that is one of the allegations that Ms. Ventura has in the indictment. And as I said, she's the catalyst of the indictment. But as you hear the host saying, in order to have a racketeering charge, you have to have more than one person involved in the racketeering, the alleged racketeering. So will there be other participants arrested alongside Sean? Because it would be more helpful if you had other people also arrested alongside him to say, yeah, these are the other people that helped him exact these crimes against said people. Now, the flip side of that could be these people were approached to be arrested, but they're now going to flip on Sean and be witnesses for the prosecution. Is that the case? That the co-conspirators are now witnesses? I'm curious. So we have a Nathan making claims of being, I guess, involved in freak-offs with Sean Puffy Combs 2019. We also learned here recently that on the night that Sean was arrested, several months ago, 2024, that there was a woman in a hotel room waiting for him. And when the officers went into the room, agents or whomever went into the room to do their search and seizure of everything in the room, they found pink powder in little baggies. I don't know how many baggies there were, but it was pink powder in the baggies, and that pink powder tested to be fentanyl, and I believe some other type of drugs. So we have heard that he likes drugging people, putting things in their drinks. We also hear that allegedly he put some type of agent inside of the baby oil, that the baby oil was used to keep the people from, fighting back and resisting. And also possibly there was some type of drug agent put inside of the baby oil. Don't know if that's true or not. But this is new information coming out that he did have a woman in his hotel room when the officers, whomever, went into the room, and she was there alongside drugs. So he had not changed his behavior. So that's what you're hearing here also in this commentary, that Sean never changed. That even when he knew about the indictment, the first of the year of 2024, January, he knew he was being investigated. He still continued to have freak-offs. He still was, he was reaching out to one of the women in one of the bands that he had. One of the, I don't know if it was can't remember which one it was, but I don't know if he was trying to get her not to testify or get her to give him information on what the other woman was saying and not saying to prosecutors, because one of the women did turn on him to bring forward allegations that he was sexually inappropriate with her. And so I don't know if he was reaching out to one of the other women to ask her questions about what she was saying, or if it was the actual victim. But we do have information that he reached out to the said female about 58 times. So that's a lot of times trying to reach someone for whatever reason. So that's the reason why he's been denied bail. It's because he's been accused of witness tampering. So we have all this information of witness tampering, calling someone on the phone, whichever female it was, a woman being in his hotel room when he gets arrested last year, drugs found in the hotel in New York. This goes to cause why we're not letting this man out free. That's why each judge has denied him bail. No bail. He offered $50 million for bail, home monitoring, offering to have a private security team watch him. And it's like, sir, you were investigated, and you knew you were investigated last year, and yet you still was involved in drug trafficking, drugs, all of that. You was arrested. Drugs was on a plane. Your drug mule was arrested with drugs in his bag. So you have a drug problem. So you decided to tell the world when that tape was revealed, with you beating Cassie up in that hotel, the spring of last year. Oh yeah, I had a problem. I was in a real bad place. So you see, he's never going to admit to the truth that he is a sadist. And yet they keep bringing evidence to show you Sean is a liar. He has a drug problem and he's a liar. He partakes in drugs. He's witness tampering, and everything is stair-step. From the moment Cassie filed the paperwork for the civil suit, he paid her 1 day later. Months later, into 24, this infamous tape is revealed. Then he comes out with a statement, how he's sorry for everybody finding out, but he never apologized to her. If you remember that statement, he never directly apologized to Cassie Ventura. He's apologizing that he was caught. Okay? So then you factor in months later, you get arrested, you've got drugs in your room. He probably didn't think we were going to find out, but we now know there were drugs in the room. So you go from civil suit, pay the girl, months later, tape revealed, you give a cockamamie story about, oh, I was going through this and it was terrible what I did, but yet you're the same person telling your lawyers, no, I didn't do anything to these people, I ain't done this, I ain't done this. You got all these civil suits, all these people jumping out of clown cars saying you touched them, raped them, filmed them, all type of things. People saying they were children when you brought them into the fold of trying to enter into the music business. You sexually touched them, groped them, had sex with them, oral sex, all of that, but yet you didn't do anything. But yet we got you on tape. Now we have audio where you are being heard asking your assistant to procure you drugs, Cialis, Plan B, Xanaxes. Your drug mule had drugs on a plane that was getting ready to go overseas last year. On your plane. Why is somebody on your plane with a bag full of drugs in their suitcase? Because this is who you are. You're an addict. You're an addict. You're probably an addict of alcohol and drugs. You don't even care about the type of drugs you're using. You're probably using cocaine, fentanyl, heroin. You don't care. Pill popper. You like to film people having sex. Coercion, I believe it. You like involving prostitutes, men prostitutes, female prostitutes. You also have engaged in homosexual sex. And 9 times out of 10, he ain't used no condom. And we've talked about that on this network. Feel free to check out my other videos in my library. People like this don't use condoms. They have no reason to use a condom. They don't care. He don't care. And as I said before, while we're talking about all these allegations from this person, that person, Pookie, Ray Ray, Sugar Mama, Sugarfoot, why don't you all talk about the possibility that this man has infected people with HIV or any other type of disease? That's the one thing you're not hearing. But that's what you're going to hear next, as we heard that with R. Kelly. Somebody's going to eventually come out and tell, yes, he's giving me a venereal disease. Yes, I'm a carrier of this virus, herpes, whatever, syphilis. There's no way you're having sex with all these different people and you're using a condom. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe he would take the time out to say, oh yeah, before I run the camera, let me put this condom on. Hey dude, put that condom on. Hey, Sugar Mama, did you take your pill this morning? That's the reason why he's asking the assistant for a Plan B. That's the proof right there. He ain't used no condom. Duh. Damn, that's sitting right there in front of us. What do you need a Plan B for if you're using a condom? And it's not to say a condom can't break without this vigorous screwing. You're screwing people back to back. Everybody's taking turns going in and out of each other. Hell yeah, a condom would break. But you get my point. This ain't the type of dude that wants to use a condom. He ain't that type of guy. And they're even now saying his deviant ways go all the way back to college. So that's why I've asked that question as well during my videos. How long has he been doing this? When did Sean Puffy Combs become this sadist? When did he become this dirty bird? This drugging and filming of women and wanting extra partners in the room? How long has he been sleeping with men and also raping children? I won't doubt he's been doing it a very long time, even probably before he became famous. Because you have to understand something about child molestation, rape. That comes from somewhere way, way back in your past. You don't wake up and start raping kids, luring children into your nest. You've been doing that. Because 9 times out of 10, Sean Puffy Combs was molested as a child. And we have learned that with many rapists and sadists and child molesters. They were also sexually assaulted as children. That's why they still have the desire to assault kids, because it was done to them. So I won't doubt that Sean was messed with as a child. If so, who was it? Family member, friend, neighbor, child, parent? And did he also assault children when he was a child? Checkmate. This goes deeper than just what you're hearing on the news. And you're entitled to your opinion. Some of you favor Sean Puffy Combs. That's your choice. But I do believe he's a sadist. I believe he's been a sadist for a long time. And I believe as he rose to what some would consider power, he became more wealthy, more well-known. He decided that he was invincible and he could do whatever he wanted to do. He didn't care about hurting people, harming people, whether that was a man, woman, or child. He felt like his shit didn't stink and he was going to do what he wanted to do, just like R. Kelly, Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and so many others. He didn't give a fuck. And I don't think he cares now. 55 years old, he has no reason to care. Has he changed? Hell no. You let him out right now, he'd do the same thing. And I won't doubt eventually he'll probably end up having sex inside of the prison, inside of the jail. It's the way it goes. Old habits die hard. He's a sadist. He enjoys being this person. He likes who he is. That's why he continuously do these deviant things. You would think if a person's being investigated by the feds, they would keep their penis to themselves. They would stop popping drugs. They would stop engaging in sexual partners with this one, that one, prostitutes. You wouldn't even want that on record. You wouldn't want to be caught with a prostitute, a male prostitute in your company. He doesn't care. That's why he's in jail now. So as I said, whether he ever pays $1 to anyone else, I believe he's what they're accusing him of. I believe it. And the fact that he paid Cassie Ventura 1 day later, he knew she had receipts. That's why he didn't want it to get out. He never wanted these allegations to get out. The same ones he's denying, he knew she had receipts. And now you've learned that the sex tapes were on her device, Cassie Ventura's. Now you put that on paper. And you can perceive that however you see fit. How she got those videos, it can't be one or two ways. She took them off his devices, he sent them to her, gave them to her, or she filmed them herself. Or all of the above. Take your pick. That's my commentary, everybody. The trial will be in May of this year. Will Sean Puffy Combs, will he go to jail? Will he go to prison? Will he be sent to prison? Or will someone hang the jury and say, I don't believe these allegations. I believe this woman went along for the ride. She got all she wanted out the deal. He may have mistreated her, beat her, yes, but there was a point when she should have left him and kept it moving, but she didn't. And now she wanted a payout, got a payout. She wants retribution. She wants revenge. You're entitled to your opinion. Because many people are going to say that. She stayed too long. 7, 8 years, that's a long time to be with anyone abusive. And then you're talking about bringing other people into the game of sex, having sex with you. You're either down with it or you're not down with it. But at some point, you have to say, I don't like this. I don't want to have sex with other people. I don't want to have sex with prostitutes. I don't want to have sex with other women and men. I don't want to be with a bisexual. Come on with it. Come on now. So at some point, she knew all these things about him. The filming, the drugging, the abusive, putting his hands on her. He didn't wait 6 or 7 years into the relationship, start beating her up, filming, drugging. He was doing that when she met him. And at some point during that relationship, he showed his true side. And Cassie Ventura rode the ride. And we all make mistakes when it comes to dating men and women. We see signs that they're violent, they're sadistic, they like sex with this one, that one, they want menage a trois and all of those type of nonsense. But it is up to you to decide if you want to participate. The gist of the story is that he's a wealthy man. And she took advantage of the situation and said, well, I'm going to get a payout for all this dirty shit he done to me. I'm going to get a payout. Because look how long she waited before she even took him to court for a civil suit. Years later. Now, could it be that he gave her a nice little package she couldn't get rid of? And she wanted the ultimate revenge. Did that ever occur to anybody? This woman could be HIV positive or has full-blown AIDS. And she said to herself, I'm going to do him one better. I'm going to sue his black ass. And I'm going to get payment for what he's given me. Stay woke now. Because I'm telling you, that's what's next to be released. Somebody's going to finally come out and say they got something they can't get rid of. And they think they got it from Sean Puffy Combs. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below this video. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeGanji129 Cash App. Continue to follow this network. I'm still bringing you updates pertaining to the flight that went down in Pennsylvania and also the crash in Washington, D.C. of an American airliner and Black Hawk helicopter. There is an update that has been released pertaining to both of these plane crashes. Thank you for your time. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Also, check my community board for movies of the week. I've got some new information, new videos for you all to enjoy. And I may put up another post of a movie or documentary to watch. I've watched a documentary today airing on Netflix, and it's pertaining to Ed McNair, who's no longer alive. And it just brings you a brief synopsis of his life as an athlete, pro football player, and how he was brutally murdered in Nashville, Tennessee back in 2009 by his so-called girlfriend. It's a very interesting piece. Feel free to check it out on Netflix. You all have a wonderful weekend. You have been listening to The Vault XL. Thank you.